Hello, Rough Rider Nation, and welcome to this edition of the Rider Report, the ins and outs of Yavapai College athletics. I'm Brad Clifford, the athletic director here at Yavapai College, and I'm joined today by our assistant baseball coach, Jerry Dawson, and he's the assistant baseball coach for the reigning NJCAA Division I National Champions. That's quite a title there, Coach. It's good to have you here, Coach.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thanks for being here. Well, this is Coach Dawson's 7th season as the assistant/pitching coach for the Rough Riders. I just want to read through some accolades, and we might be here a while reading through these accolades, Coach. Prior to joining the Rough Riders staff, Coach Dawson served as the head baseball coach at Chaparral High School in Scottsdale for 37 years. Coach owns the most high school career victories in the state of Arizona with 774. His teams enjoyed tremendous success over the years, qualifying for postseason play 34 of those years, won 8 state championships. 4 of those teams became nationally ranked. Coach has produced over 160 graduates, including 5 current or former major leaguers. Most notables are Paul Konerko, Brian Bannister, and Ike Davis, and we'll talk about those here in a little bit. Coach Dawson has been named to National High School Coach of the Year on 5 occasions and has been elected to 5 Halls of Fame, including the Arizona Sports Hall of Fame in 2014, as the only high school coach ever to be so honored. Coach Dawson served as an assistant coach on the USA Baseball Junior National Team in 2004, which competed in the World Games in Taipei. And he also served as the head coach of the junior national team in 2005 for the games down in Mexico City, I believe, winning the silver medal back then. So, Coach, that is quite a Hall of Fame resume, if I might say. Give us some wisdom. What's the key to your success, Coach?
Lucky me being at the right spot at the right time and having the right kids.
It's always who you surround yourself, right?
Always the players. Always the players.
So tell me about has the game changed? You've been in the game a long time. Has the game changed?
Game hasn't changed, but the kids and the parents have. I personally believe we're in an entitlement society right now. And 40 years ago, my 47th year of coaching, 40 years ago, the work ethic in our young people and the expectations of their parents were completely different than what they are now. That's the biggest change I see.
The game doesn't change, though. The personalities do, for sure.
No, exactly.
Absolutely. At Yavapai, you've coached some fine pitchers that really thrived under your tutelage, Coach. I can just name just recently Ken Giles, Jojo Romero from last year, Chance Adams, to name a few. But what is the process? What do you do with arms like that? I mean, they had some good arms coming in. Ken Giles throwing 100 miles an hour. What do you do? What do you say to them when they come in?
It depends on the individual. Kenny came in at probably 94, but he couldn't throw a strike. And so much of that was confidence. We just tried to simplify everything. We went back to beginning baby group pitching when you first learned how to pitch. And he just had too much going on in his mind and too much going on with the things he was trying to do. And once he got to believe he could throw a strike, then the velocity came. Chance really wasn't a pitcher in high school. He actually was a chaparral guy that I had as a sophomore.
Right.
He was the third baseman hitter that pitched. And he tried to do that as a freshman. It's so hard in college because of the throwing demands. His sophomore year, when he finally concentrated on pitching, why you saw his numbers go up and you saw his velocity go up and you saw his success go up. Goes to Dallas Baptist and just continues that success.
Great 2 years, yeah.
JoJo was close to a finished product when he got here. It was just he had a year of college under his belt at University of Nevada, Reno, but he hadn't pitched much. So it was just a matter of adjusting from being a supporting member of the club to being the go-to guy.
You know, it's we had Rick Kranitz here in April, and you know Rick very well.
Yes,
Rick
I do.
played for us and went on to, is having a great coaching career in the major leagues. And he said, talking about Greg Maddux, because he had Greg Maddux as his first pitcher, and he said the first thing I said to him, he said he didn't say much to him.
No.
He said Greg asked him the question, and he said, well, okay, let me just change a little something. So you don't change a lot of things mechanic-wise with pitchers like that.
They don't get to the college level unless they've got a great arm. I tell kids when we talk to them, I'm not a fixed guy. The only way I'm going to ask you to make a change if I think it's going to cause you an injury problem. And then only after we videotape and we sit down and I tell you what I see, and then you tell me what you see, and we try to come up with a plan together. It's like you said, there's a reason they've gotten this far.
Right.
And I've watched the very first year I coached track, had a 6'2" high jumper. I went out and coached him up really good, and he couldn't clear 5'10" after I finished. So there was a lesson to be learned.
Right. Less is better sometimes.
Yes.
That's great. That's great. Well, let's talk about this year's pitching. Yesterday we had a great outing with Central Arizona. Swept them down there at their place. Avery had a great outing. Zach Peterson had a great outing. Our pitching's been pretty decent this year. We've had some great moments. We've had some not so great moments. Coulterman's having a great year. Rez is coming off some great outings. Had some bad luck in some games, but he's coming off an arm injury. Like I said, Grossy, Peterson, Dirk, they've been good. And we've got some decent young talent in Bixby, RJ, and Dylan. So what are your thoughts on their pitching this season as you being the pitching coach?
It's never good enough to suit me, honestly. Inconsistent. The days we've been good, we've been really, really good. Mm-hmm. But that's not just the pitching, that's our whole club. Right. It's sometimes, if you're expecting to be mediocre, it's easier to coach to that than it is when you're not sure that
right.
you're going to be mediocre, because
right.
it's really hard to coach to that. I felt like our performances the last month have been noticeably improved. I just hope that's a trend that continues.
Well, indeed, with what do we have? 3 doubleheaders remaining, and we're still in the hunt of things. We went up a game on Western for the final playoff spot, and Katie bar the door. If we get into the playoffs, it's a whole new season.
Been there, done that.
Exactly. Well, kind of last year a little bit. And
exactly.
We really weren't the standout team in the conference, but we hit the right stride at the right time.
Championships aren't often won by the best team. They're most often won by the team that's playing best the last month of the season.
Hot at the right time,
yes.
For sure. And that's indeed what we were last year. Coach, you've mentored a number of current and former MLB players and college players. Who stands out to you as far as let's go two characters here. The one that has the most character, work ethic, the one that you wanted to coach that came to work every day, and the other one that was the biggest character. How about that?
Ooh, the biggest character I can go with. I get asked that question a lot, like which team do you remember the best and all that kind of thing. And it's such a difficult question when you've done it as long as I have. Mm-hmm. Paulie Konerko was our first MLB guy. Mm-hmm. So he is special to me because he was the first one.
Sure.
Just like the first championship team was special because it was the first one.
Right.
Tremendous work ethic, tremendous study. He was a young man that kept notebooks on every pitcher in high school.
Wow.
And probably he'd never see him again.
Right.
But just that type of focus carried over into an outstanding major league career. Biggest character was probably Ike. I could tell you so many stories, but they aren't appropriate for this venue.
This venue, no.
But he should have been a Texas ranch guy. Big old, strong guy that just loved to play the game.
Yeah.
And he was left-handed, which, without offending all the left-handed people in the world, baseball players that are left-handed are often a little different. And Ike certainly fit that mold.
Wow. And he's gone on to a great career at the next level.
Been solid. He had a injury early in that career. I think it would have been even better than it has been.
Than that, yeah. Well, you've seen a lot of baseball in your time, a lot of baseball players, so it's kind of fun to reminisce a little bit about that. What is you've had a storied career, Coach. We go back and read the accolades. You've had a Hall of Fame career. Give me your best. We talk about best. Those are hard to. What is a memory that stands out to you in your baseball career?
I probably prided myself the most on the relationships with the young men. It's probably what I miss the most, not being a high school coach anymore. Because as a junior college coach, you have young men 1 or 2 years. Right. You can continue the relationships, but they're already young men. As a high school coach, a lot of those guys I ran onto as in camps and stuff when they were third and fourth graders,
Right.
and watched them grow. A lot of them were the same family. The last year I coached, we had 5 little brothers, which is, that's special. So all the young people, I'm sure, is what I remember most and value most. Obviously, the 8 state championships, I can outline every game. My wife swears I can outline every game we ever played in, but that's not quite true.
And you probably have
anymore.
done it with her a few times.
I probably have. The first one was special because we'd coached 20 years before we won it.
Mhm.
Everybody says, "Oh, you were chaperone." Well, we built the program from scratch,
Right,
so
right.
that was special. But I often, when I'm bored, look back to trying to place where this particular game was at, what the final score was, who it was against, all those kind of things. So it's impossible for me to go to one.
Sure.
I wish I could, but I can't.
Right. You know, it's interesting when you ask that question of all us former coaches. It always comes back to the same thing. It's the relationship with the players, not necessarily the accolades, not necessarily championships, but it's the relationship with the players.
Without a doubt.
And you're right. At junior college, you don't get to foster those as you would at a high school.
No, and they're already, they're borderline adults.
Right.
And versus a 4th grader through a 12th grader, and it's just a different. I talked to Kamalu last night, who was here 3 or 4 years ago. So the relationships are still there, but it's just a different kind because you don't watch them come through puberty and adolescence and all the stuff that can happen at that age.
At teenager years,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Well, that's great. I know the relationship that you have with the pitchers is very high respected from the players to you. You do a great job with that. Coach, an interesting fact, maybe little-known fact, I don't know if it's little known because it's on the biography on the website. You served in the Vietnam conflict,
Yes.
and you were a military police.
Yes.
Now, that's got to bring some discipline to your coaching a little bit, having served as a military police.
Looking back, I feel I was a police officer for 3.5 years, 2 in the military and 1.5 years in Scottsdale. Looking back to those first few years, but of course that was 1970s, the discipline level was off the charts.
Right.
I'd just come out of Vietnam. I had just been a police officer. The expectations from those type of things, much different than obviously they are today, but very structured. Our program was very structured. 3.5 hours days of each day of practice, 5 to 6 hours on Saturday. A lot of them referred to it as a baton death march, but they really didn't know what that was.
Right.
It wasn't quite that big.
Right.
But no, different world, different time, different person. Much different being a head coach than being an assistant coach.
Sure, absolutely. Well, Coach, you've had a Hall of Fame career. We are honored to have you on our staff. It's an honor for me to associate with you and rub shoulders. You're a Hall of Fame coach.
I don't know about that.
Well,
I've been blessed.
You are.
I've
You
been
are.
blessed.
So thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it, and we appreciate the work you do for us.
Thank you for letting me hang out.
Well, this is the end of this report. We want to remind you to follow us on www.goroughriders.com. Follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. We do have 3 doubleheaders remaining, all home. Beginning on this Saturday, we have Cochise College, the #1 team in the conference right now. And then we got Arizona Western and Eastern Arizona to finish the season. So we're fighting for that last playoff spot. Come out and follow the Rough Riders, cheer us on, and like always, go Rough Riders.